AVC members, it's Matt again. Hope everyone's doing well on this Saturday night. I'm doing great. Not only did Notre Dame pull it out and win, go Irish, but hoping against hope, and TCU beat Oklahoma. So the two best teams in football had monumental wins tonight. So there we go. Maybe the Bears will win this week too, if we get lucky. But anyway, this isn't the football channel. This is the VC channel. I wanted to do a review of a record that I showed earlier today when I did my drawing for the Soul contest a few hours ago, and I also showed some new records that I got. So yeah, Tracey Ullman, You Broke My Heart in 17 places, and in tribute to that, with the exception of Lee Hazelwood up there, it's an all female, all girl wall behind me. I changed it out. And so we'll go through some of the records I got up there in a minute. But this one, 1984, came out, and I got notes on it. So it reached the album that is I don't know. I thought I wrote it down. Anyway, maybe not. 1984 albums came out, and They Don't Know. I bought the 45 with the picture sleeve, which I don't have anymore. One of my favorite songs of the 80s, absolutely one of my favorite songs of the 80s. Remember seeing this record in the stores, but I never picked it up. I thought about it a few times, but for whatever reason I just never did. Maybe I thought that it was the 60s and the 80s were big one-hit wonder times where a lot of people had some good 45s, but their albums were mainly just filler. And so maybe I thought that's what this was. I don't really remember. And I think it got cut out and was kind of hard to find, but I tracked this down and got to the, obviously the vinyl's cut out now, but I think the CD is too, if I'm not mistaken. But tracked this down, found it on Amazon for about $3. Thought, why not? Went ahead and bought it. So yeah, 1984 when this came out. 83, I think the single came out, and the album came out in 84. But it, I didn't have any clue who Tracey Ullman was, other than just some singer that popped up on MTV all of a sudden. Really loved the song. Figured she wrote the song. Of course, this was several years before the Tracey Ullman Show and all that stuff. So she was just, one of those early 80s kind of new wave pop singers, MTV girls. Her video for this, Paul McCartney shows up in, by the way, because she had a small part in that Academy Award for Best Picture winning Paul McCartney movie, Give My Regards to Broad Street, or Broad Street. So she's in that. So she got him to be in his video. He doesn't appear on this album, but so yeah, I thought that song was written by her. Or I don't know that I thought. I don't know that I ever thought about it other than I like the song. It is not written by her. I learned several years later it is written by a girl named Kirsty MacColl, who released it in England. Tracey's from England too, by the way. MacColl released her version in England in 1979. And it, I swear I took notes on this stuff, but now I can't read my own handwriting, so... but it did okay in England. McCall's version didn't do great, I don't believe, but it, yeah, never mind. Yeah, it did okay in England. Didn't make any noise in America. I don't think anyone in America really knew who McCall was. When Ullman's version came out in '83, it was a huge hit. Ullman's version went to number 2 in England and number 8 in the US of A. So I think everyone in America just thought it was a Tracey Ullman song. We didn't find out till later it was a Kirsty MacColl penned song and that she originally did it. But so I listened to her version. I've got her version too. It's pretty good. It's actually really good. It's I like Ullman's a little bit better. Part of that might be because this is the one that I knew first. But they're both very excellent, and MacColl is worth looking up. And if I just said that or not, she's passed away, sadly. MacColl, that is, not Ullman. And on my favorite album of the year still, Lydia Lovelace's Somewhere Else. she ends the album with a cover version of They Don't Know, which is really good. It's not as good as either Ullman or McCall's version, but it's a perfect closer to that album, which is the album of the year and album of the decade, by the way. If you haven't got it, go out and pick it up after you watch this video. So, I didn't know what was on this album, if it was other stuff, if it was going to be any good or not. I didn't have no idea what to expect, if it was just going to be a bunch of filler with the one hit, because when I had the 45, I don't remember what was on the flip side or if I ever even played it, but got this album, and I thought maybe Tracey wrote some of the songs. She doesn't write any of them. They're all covers, which is not necessarily a bad thing. First time I played it, I thought, well, you know, it's okay, but I've had this for a few days, and I played it several times, and it's grown on me where I quite like it now. But I'll go through real quick the songs on here. First song is Breakaway, which was written by Jackie DeShannon back in the 60s, and it was recorded by Jackie but not released until actually the 80s. Even though DeShannon had several hits and records back in the 60s, she wrote it for somebody else. Jackie was pretty good looking herself, and she used to date Jimmy Page way back in the day. But there's my Jackie with the Beatles album. Anyway, you can find Jackie's version on YouTube, which is pretty good. The song was actually was not a hit at the time, but it was recorded by Irma Thomas. Great version, which kind of became a hit retroactively, in part because of Tracey Ullman. Irma Thomas recorded her version back in the 60s, and Breakaway, even though it wasn't a hit in the United States, was Ullman's first 45 in England, where it made number 4 on the pop chart, and it got all the way up to number 70 in the United States. So I don't ever remember hearing it till I heard this album. I like her version okay. It's pretty good, but it seems like it's a little too sped up and fast. So I like Jackie and Irma Thomas's versions better, but hers is good. It's just a little too 80s sounded up and a little too sped up, but it's a good version. The second song on here is, of course, the great They Don't Know. We've already talked about that. Third song on here, Bobby's Girl, which was a hit in the 60s. 1962, it got to number 3 in America by a singer named Marcy Blaine. And oddly enough, a girl in England named Susan Maughan, Maughan, recorded it over there, and it got to number 3 in England. Both Blaine and Maughan are pretty cute, and they both do really good versions of it, and Tracey does a pretty good version of it too, so it's almost a three-way tie, even though I guess Blaine's version, if I had to pick one, would be my favorite, but it's a good song. The fourth song on here is called Oh What a Night by a group called the Dells, which was originally recorded in 1956, and the Dells re-recorded it in 1969, and it went to number 4 on the R&B chart. It's a 1956 version, sorry, is like a doo-wop song. The 1969 version is more just a straight soul song, and both of them pretty good. Tracey does the covers the 1969 version. She does a pretty good job of it. It's a good song. So, yep, moving right along. Actually, I like her version. Is a little bit more up tempo than either one of the Dells versions. Not that they're not very good, but hers is a little more energetic, I guess. So, and it's not over 80'd in the production department, if that's a word, which it's not, but I just made it up. The last song on side 1 is Move Over Darling. Really good song. It comes from a 1963 movie starring Doris Day of that title. Movie's a remake of My Favorite Wife, an old Cary Grant movie. Doris Day sings the title song. Tracey sings it here. It is a great song, very good song. They both do a very good job. I think I prefer Day's version a little bit over Tracey's, but it's a nice big production number song. Sort of has that feel of movie songs from back in the early 60s. Good stuff. Number 6 song, the first song on side 2, is I Close My Eyes and Count to 10. This was a Dusty Springfield song from August 1968. I will show that in a minute. And went to number 4 in the UK, shot up the charts in the United States, and went all the way to number 122 over here. The Springfield version is good, and Dusty Springfield's great, so kind of hate to vote against Dusty, but I've got to give it to Tracey on this one. Her version is a little more, it's more of a dramatic, sweeping grandeur to it. It's sort of a torch song and Disney sounding song in parts, not in a bad way, like Disney, like the old-timey Disney songs. There's sort of a like a song from a play, from a musical theater piece to it. It's really great. She does a good job of it, and she actually bests Dusty, which is surprising, but there you go. The seventh song, is called Long Live Love, also a great song. This song was done by Sandy Shaw, the female singer in England who had quite a few hits in England. Always Something There to Remind Me. The 80s song by Naked Eyes was originally done by Sandy Shaw back in 64, 65. Anyway, Long Live Love, Sandy Shaw version, went to number 1 in England in 1965. She does a great version. Tracey does a great version. It's kind of got a bossa nova swing beat to both versions. It's a song you can't help but get up and move around and dance to. I'm dancing right now just thinking about it. So, great version by both of them. I call it a draw. Can't really decide whose I like better. So that's a good one. There's also a song called Long Live Love from 73 or 74. Same title, not the same song. Performed by Olivia Newton-John. Has nothing to do with this version. Actually looked the video up of Olivia's on that song, and it's a terrible, god-awful song, but it's Olivia Newton-John, so what do you expect? Sorry for any Newton-John fans out there, but I never liked her music, at least. So Long Live Love. The next song up is I'm Always Touched by Your Presence, Dear, which is a Blondie song, Debbie Harry and Blondie from 1977. Blondie's album Plastic Letters. This was the second 45 released from that album in England anyway. Got to number 10. Was not released in America, not as a single anyway. It was on the album. And Tracey even sort of kind of sounds like Debbie Harry, and her sings like Debbie Harry a little bit, somewhat, on her version of it. It's another draw because it's not a bad song, but it's not Blondie's best song by any means, in my opinion. It's just okay. Tracey's version is likewise just okay. Number 9 song on side 2, or on the album as a whole, is Shattered, which I was expecting, pile it up, but no, it's not Mick and Keith. It's not the Rolling Stones version. This is a song by a guy named Wayne Carson Thompson, country singer, who I'd never heard of, but when I read a little bit about him, he wrote Always on My Mind, the old country song that I think Willie Nelson sings, and he wrote The Letter by the Box Tops, and he wrote this song. I couldn't find anything on YouTube of him singing Shattered, so I don't know what his version sounds like. Hers is it's kind of it's not a country song the way she does it, but it sounds country-ish in spirit, and it's sort of a sad ballad song. Pretty good song. She does it well. Like I said, I don't know how Thompson's version comes out, The second to last song is called You Broke My Heart in 17 Places, also the title of the album. That was written by Kirsty MacColl too. Great song, really good song. Tracey does a great version of it. I tried to find McCall's version, but I couldn't find any YouTube videos of McCall doing the song, so I don't know if maybe she just wrote this song especially for Tracey for this album, and she never did it herself. But anyway, so I don't know how to compare it to her version because I don't know if there is a her version, but it's a good, just clips along, nice little bit of energy and melody and great little pop song, really good song. And Kirsty MacColl, by the way, sings backing vocals on this album on some songs, including They Don't Know, so she sings backing vocals on her own song, which was very nice of her. And the final song on this album is Life is a Rock, But the Radio Rolled Me. That is a 1974 song by an American group called Reunion that was just sort of a, not a real group, just some musicians, I think studio musicians and whatnot, that were put together to do that song. I've heard that song. When I heard it, I remembered it. That song got to number 8 in the U.S. and number 33 in England. It's I don't like it. I don't like their version. I don't like her version too much. It's kind of goofy. The guy, Joey Levine, who sings it, is the same guy that sang those old bubblegum hits, Chewy, 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 and Yummy, 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 I've Got Love in My Tummy. I never could stand those songs, and this one's pretty annoying too. It's just real fast paced. The guy, or Tracey on her version, is yelling out a bunch of names of old rock and roll stars for 1974, people from the 50s and the 70s, 50s and 60s, and a lot of record labels and a lot of famous radio DJs. And it's a silly song. At the end of the song, in both versions, they start singing Higher, I Want to Take You Higher by Sly and the Family Stone. That's the only thing that kind of redeems it, even though it makes me wish that I was listening to Sly and the Family Stone instead of this silly ass song. So not a good ending to the album, unfortunately, because that's a dumb song by either one of them. So yeah, there is the back of this, and as I've been showing the whole video, the front, how 80s is that with the graphics and the color. The inner sleeve is, I don't know if when the actual record might have had a sleeve with picture on it or whatever, I'm not sure. And it is on MCA Records, nothing too exciting there. No posters or anything, no gatefold. So I just thought it'd be fun to review an album like this because, like I said earlier, and not that there's anything wrong with it, it's great, but you see a lot of people on here reviewing Beatle records or David Bowie or Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones, whatever. So it's nice every once in a while, I think, to do something a little that doesn't get much notice or attention. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this album probably, I'll give it an 8, 8.5 even maybe. I like it a lot. If you're a fan of 80s girl group stuff, this is, she's not the talent that Chrissie Hynde and the Pretenders or Debbie Harry of Blondie or, even the Go-Go's or whatever, but it's fun and it's up there with like Go-Go's and Bangles type stuff, and it sounds very 80s but very 60s at the same time. Retro, I guess, if retro was a term that was used in the 80s. I don't think it really was, but it's a fun album. It's a bubbly, lot of pop, and there's a little bit of variety on there. You've got sort of your not really sad songs, but your big, grand, epic, sweeping ballad and production numbers, along with just your bubbly 80s, 60s sounding 80s pop. Fun record. I enjoy it. The more I play it, the more I like it. So yeah. What else? Tracey Ullman actually had 6 songs in the top 100 in England in less than 2 years. Of course, in America, I think the only real hit was They Don't Know. But she released one other album called You Caught Me Out in 1984. That was released in England, was not released in America. I've never heard it. I looked it up on the computer there, and that looks to also be all cover songs. But then I guess she got caught up with her acting in TV shows and stuff like that, and she hadn't released any music since then, as far as I know, which is kind of a shame, but there it is. So that's my review of that, and my wall of music, in case you care. We got Honey Limited, the complete songs, I think, of the Honeys up there. Lee Hazelwood produced those girls. Not as good as I thought it would be. It's kind of a, what do you call it, easy listening, sunshine pop, but kind of back when our parents didn't like rock and roll and they thought it was a bunch of noise, our parents and our grandparents, that's the kind of stuff that they would say, like, well, at least that sort of sounds like real music. Kind of bland stuff. It's I actually got to give it another listen just to be fair, because I've only listened to it a few times when I first got it, but it didn't bowl me over. The Shirley Ann Lee, Songs of Light, second one up there, is a great gospel soul album, pretty incredible. There's Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood. A terrible copy of that album. I got it for free. I need to track down a good copy sometime, but the record plays well. Some Velvet Morning is a crazy cool psychedelic pop, weird, beautiful song. Look that up on YouTube. There's Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, Soul Time. And I don't know if you can see that. That's music from The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., a record store day thing. And starting over here, we got the complete Stacks and Volt singles of Wendy Renee that I got. That's Light in the Attic Records release of a few years ago, double album, incredible good stuff. Then we got, of course, Mary Weiss, my favorite female singer of all time, and my favorite girl group of all time, bar none, the Shangri-Las. Just perfect, incredible band. Then we got best album in 2014 in the decade. Go out and buy that. That's Lydia Lovelace. Somewhere else. Here's her album Indestructible Machine, which I've shown before, but that's autographed by her when I saw her in concert. Dusty Springfield, Dusty in Memphis. A wonderful must-have album. And Jackie DeShannon breaking it up on the Beatles tour. She toured with the Beatles in '64. It's not, the Beatles don't play on this or anything, but it's anyway, great album with fun stuff. It's I like it a lot. And then I don't know if you can see down there, you got two Go-Go's albums and Patty Duke, and you got the Bangles, which unfortunately I don't have their first album on vinyl. That's my favorite of theirs, but this is their second album. And then you got Au Pairs, a post-punk band. This is from 1981, I believe. Great album too. And this is a limited edition on pink vinyl, and I have number 306 of 500 copies. So just thought I would do a wall of women recording artists in honor of doing the review of Tracey Ullman. Plus it was time to change up the wall anyway. So as usual, I've gone on too far, and I will do a Kinks review maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. And go Frogs, go Irish. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday.